Okay, so different location, same value. In today's video, I'm gonna give you 4 beginner mistakes that, Framer beginners usually make on their Framer websites. And it's just absolutely painful to see these mistakes on every single website I visit. So please watch this video, make sure that you fix all these mistakes on your website, and also make sure to share this video so others are also not making these. So yeah, my name is Dante, this is Framer University, and let's get started. Okay, so the first mistake that we're going to start with is overriding the bounds. What the hell does that mean, overriding the bounds? Well, let me show you. We have an example here, which is basically a bouncy transition. You can see I'm toggling between these two states, and we can clearly see that the toggle is very bouncy, and it looks pretty good. However, we have a little issue. As you can see, when it goes into this state, the turned off state, it has some sort of like flashing, like it starts showing different colors, like a little reddish on the background and a little too dark on the circle. So what is this and how can we fix it? Well, in order to fix this problem, we first have to understand how the bouncy transition works inside of Framer. So if we double click into this component, we're going to see that on the right panel, we can select the transition property, and this shows us the transition of this movement. So we transition from one variant to the other, and all the movements, all the color changes will be according to this transition curve that we can see right here. And this little bump here is the bounce basically. So if we set the bounce to 0 instead of 0.5, you're gonna not see that bump anymore. So I'm gonna set it back to 0.5. And what you have to understand is that what this means is basically, for example, if we animate an element 40 pixels to the right, it is actually gonna go to 50 pixels. So instead of animating to 40 pixels right away, it's gonna slightly overshoot the 50 pixels and then move back to its regular 40 pixel value. So basically that's how this works. You can see this is where the overshooting happens. This is where it, let's say, animates to 50 pixels, but then it moves back to the 40 pixel that we defined on this variant switch. And this is all good until you realize that this overshooting will not only happen when we animate the element from one position to the other, but it will also happen on other transitions or other changes that we make. For example, when changing the color. So that's why it's flashing. It's because when we transition from one color to the other, the color actually overshoots to a slightly different color, let's say red or something, that we didn't want to show. And then it's going to move back to the actual color that we set on the variant. So in order to fix this, to make sure that this flashing is no longer happening, what we have to make sure is that we separate the elements that we want to bounce and the elements that we don't want to bounce. So in this case, what I want to do is I want to make sure that this little circle, when it moves to the right side, it nicely bounces. So it overshoots a little bit to the right and then it bounces back. However, the background colors on these elements should not be animated. So the way we fix this is, again, we separate the elements, so we create frames just for those changes. So I create a frame, we name it background color, so BG color, and then we just put it within this component. I'll set it to absolute positioning so I can pin it to all the sides, and then I'll make sure that it's behind everything, but as you can see it is, so it's perfect. And I can remove the variant's background color now, because we're not going to need that. Instead, we're going to set that background color on this BG color frame that we've just defined on the right panel. I can just set it to this 6, which is a gray color. Now I'll do the same with this circle. I remove the fill color, and then I create a frame. I put it within the circle, and just make sure that it's within the circle on the left layers panel. And then, as you can see, I can just pin it to all the sides on the right panel again, and make sure that the right color is set. So yeah, basically that's it. We're gonna also name this maybe circle color so that we can nicely see what are the different layers in our design. And we will need to do the overrides on this variant here so that it's actually doing some sort of color change, because now it doesn't really do that. So let's go to the on variant, select the BG color, change it to the new blue, and then the circle color will be white instead. So you might think that just by doing this we have successfully fixed the problem, but no. As you can see, if we preview this, the colors flashing is still happening. So here's how to really fix it. We're going to go into the component and we're going to select these separate layers that we've created just for the color. So circle color and BG color on the left is selected on the primary variant. And then on the right panel, we're going to do the magic, which is going to be adding a transition property under styles. And with this, we'll be able to override the transition setting to whatever we like. So as you can see, by default on this primary variant, we have 0.9 and 0.5 bounce. So what we can do on this is we can override the time to, let's say, 0.6, and then we can have 0 bounce. Because as you remember, the problem was the bounce. So if we change that to 0, hopefully it will be all good. So let's preview this really quickly now. And yes, as you can see, the colors are no longer flashing, but we still have the nice bounce on the circle element. Now on to the next mistake, which is about not updating the primary variant when creating components and interactions. So let me show you a really simple example. This happens when you have, for example, this little card, which is just an image here and the text. And then you're like, okay, let's turn this into a component and let's do some cool little animation. And you're like, cool, we have this default variant here. Maybe let's change the gap to 0 and then set the opacity of the text to 0. And then let's create another variant where we call this hover, and we set the text back to 1 opacity, and we change the gap between these two elements to a little larger value, maybe 14 or something like that. And now that we have this, we just have to animate between these two elements or variants with a mouse enter and a mouse leave interaction. So with this, you have created something like this. You can see it looks pretty good. You might not think, but a disaster is about to happen. Because you go back inside of the component and you're like, oh, okay, actually I don't really like this mono font. Let's change it. And you naturally come here to the hover state because this is where you see the text. And you come here and you're like, okay, maybe I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger, maybe 20 pixels. And maybe I'm gonna switch it to a different font, maybe something like this, medium. And you're like, okay, I like this more, this looks better. And then you go back and you preview your animation again, and this is what you're gonna see. Do you notice what is happening? Because I do definitely notice it and I don't really like it. As you can see, when we transition back from the hover state to the default state, pay attention to what happens on the text. You see how it switches back to the mono font and the smaller size for a second? Let me actually make this transition a little longer so you can see it better. Transition, let's make it actually, I don't know, 3 seconds. I'm going to set the bounce to 0. So you're going to see that there is indeed a little problem. I'm going to leave with my cursor and boom. You see? The text switches back to the old version, the smaller size and different font. But why is this happening? Well, the reason is because what we've done here is we changed the text only on the hover variant. And how component animations work in Framer is it always looks at the relation from the variant where we're coming from and the variant where we're going. So for example, if on one variant the color is white and then on another the color is black, it's going to transition from white to black. And in this case, it's quite tricky because we have defined the text here as something different on the hover state, but on the default it is still the same, but we cannot see it because it's set to opacity 0, and that's why it's hard to notice this. But if I set the opacity back to 1, you're going to see that indeed on the default, we have a different text setting, and this is why it's going to animate from this version to this version of the text. So all we have to make sure is that, well, it's actually two things. First of all, we always have to make sure that fundamental changes like this are always implemented on the primary variant. I'm going to show you why in a second. And then we also have to make sure that we fix this with the following way. So what I'm going to do is really simple. I'm going to go to the hover variant, right click it, and click Update Primary. This will make sure that all the changes that are now implemented and all the overrides that are now implemented on the hover state are basically pushed to the default. So see how if I click the Update Primary, this also changes to the correct size and font. And so the other thing that I said is that next time when you do something like this, make sure that you're not updating the text on the hover variant, but you're doing it on the default. And again, it's tricky because you cannot see it, but you really have to select it on the default, because if you make any changes or if you add any effects on the primary, it's going to be applied on every other variant. So you're going to see as I'm selecting this here and I change the size back to 16, it's changing on the hover as well. And I can do the same with the font. I can change it to Giant Mono, for example, and you can see it has changed here as well, which is absolutely perfect. This is what we need. And now we're no longer going to see any sort of weird jumping and glitching when we're transitioning between these two variants. Now here's the next mistake, which is quite annoying. So if we have a little navigation, it might be set up the wrong way on some pages, something like this. Like this is now not correct, but do you notice the issue? Well, the problem is that these right here are not actually centered. If we measure the distance on the right and we start putting that on the other side, you're going to see that this space on the right is much bigger than what we have on the left. But why is this actually happening? Well, in order to understand this, we have to go within the navigation. And so the way this is set up is we have this content frame, and within that we have three elements. We have the logo on the left, we have the links in the center, and then we have a button on the right. We also have this hidden element, but let's ignore that for now. And the problem is that the way this is set up is the content is set to distribute space between, which makes sure that all of these elements are distributed equally. So the first will be at the start, the second will be at the center, and then the last one will be at the right side. However, you can see that this is not really cool, because since this element right here on the right is a little bit larger, the links are getting pushed to the left a little bit. Let me just show you. If this was a little larger even, like, it would just push the links even more. So the key is to make sure that on the left and on the right, we have the same sized elements so that the links are going to be pushed to the exact center of this navigation. So here's how to do that really easily. We're going to grab the left element, the SVG, we're going to right click it and add it into a stack. And we're going to set that to width fill. Now you can see that this doesn't look cool because the logo is now on the left, but we can just set the distribute to start, and there you go. And we're going to do the same with the button. Right click, add stack, and we're going to now set distribute to end, so the button is on the right. And now you're going to see that since both of these stacks on the left and on the right have the same width, because both of them are set to width fill, they're pushing the links into the complete center. And that's how we make sure that our navigations are fully centered. And this way we don't even need the space between. We can just use center or whatever we like. And that way, again, as you can see, now it's centered. And I think we can argue that it's much better. And we're jumping into the last mistake that beginners always do. And not even beginners, like I see very high level websites built on Framer that they're just not built properly. And I can understand it because this is a very, not everyone knows about Framer University resources, but again, that's why I say that please share this video and share these resources with others so that, we don't see these mistakes on websites. So what is this next or last mistake? So the problem here, what I see on most sites is that they are not avoiding layout jumping, which means that when they have these accordions, for example, that open down, these transitions in height are pushing elements away instantly. So for example, we can have this footer on the bottom, and that will be animated. Well, actually it will not be animated, it will just be pushed away instantly. You can see how it just jumps there, and it's, in my opinion, it's very, very ugly, and I don't want to see this on any framer sites. And so I developed a really simple way that you can use to fix this, and you just have to use it. So let me show you how it works. First of all, you have to go to the Framer University website and search for the layout jump preventer component. This will be just a simple component that you can copy to your clipboard with this button, and then back in Framer, all you have to do is go within your component that changes its height, which is this accordion in this case, and simply put this component within. So I'm going to press Command V. As you can see, it's inserting the component, and now on the left layers panel, we can see it here. So the layout jump preventer is here within this primary variant, and what we can see that is it's actually invisible. It doesn't take up any space. Well, actually it does take up a little bit of space at the top because it's set to relative, but what we usually do with these components is we just set it to absolute, and that's it. It's completely invisible, it doesn't take up any space now, it will just add the effect that we need. So on the right panel of this component, we can set the direction to vertical, because this accordion will be moving vertically, like it's going to push elements away vertically, and that's the layout jump that we're going to avoid basically. But we can use it in horizontal or both mode, and basically that's it. Now if we take a look at this, you're going to see that this little footer on the bottom is smoothly animating instead of jumping like crazy. And I think it's just a so much better experience when, browsing different websites and interacting with them. So yeah, that's it for this video. I really do hope that it was helpful from this little different location. If you have any questions about these, or if you have run into a problem, make sure to drop a comment down below. And yeah, also check out Framer University for these cool resources and components and tutorials. Because I think if you're building with Framer or you just started or whatever, I think it's going to be a great resource for you, and it's fully free, by the way. So yeah, that's for this video. Make sure to like it, subscribe for more, and I'm going to see you in the next one.